okay. So these lines on here are going to be more relevant at impact, which I'll show you in a second, okay? But generally, setup-wise, posture from the first test we looked at, very, very good. Back was a lot straighter. I think be aware that on occasions it got a little hunched slightly. It wasn't perfect, but it was certainly much improved from where it was sort of head down last week. On occasion, it just gets a little bit rounded. Sometimes if you're getting tired or hitting a lot of shots or getting fed up with the golf's not quite going, hitting some bad shots, your body language kind of sucks and you get down a bit sort of hunched there. But generally speaking, it was good. The swing thought now is your right hip's going to turn out of the way on the way back. What you had as you went back, as you'll see on this one here now, bit of a slide with the hips. You can see your knees and your hips now kind of following on this line, and you've moved quite a way off the ball that way. Now because of that, your top half is tilting now towards target. When you then come back to the golf ball at the point of contact now, if I clear all these lines, your head now is pretty much on or just over the golf ball, ahead of it in some ways, okay? Whereas this one now, we can see your hip rotating. There's a little bit of a sway there, which is absolutely fine, okay? As you get to the top of the backswing, head behind the ball. Now it's a question of staying there as we come back. There's impact. I clear that one. There's probably, get that straight. There's your impact. And the good thing I like there is your head and your hands we call bookend the golf ball. Okay? So your hands are just slightly in front. Again, when we talk about slightly in golf, we're talking like that. We're not talking like this far behind the ball. There's obviously, and that's the thing with golfers, if you look at that green line there, you could be effectively anywhere from kind of, these are quite close together, but from there to probably, I guess, there with your head. As long as they're behind the ball, you're okay. But then the second you go too far this way, as you're on this one, you're coming down steep, you hit the ground very heavy. You'll probably see a lot of golf balls curving this over the driver you said was the one shot you kept going before, or you'll just thin a few shots because you're scared of hitting the ground because you're coming down this vertical angle this way, coming down like this, you're like, oh God, if I hit the ground, it's going to be a big face full of mud and not a lot of success with the shot. So now I'll just miss the ground and you just thin it and it goes on the ground very, very low. So the sensation of swinging a bit more kind of around this corner with your right hip, it just takes your top half. Now this hip kind of goes in, your top half goes a bit more this way. Whereas if your hip goes out in that direction there, if that hip goes this way, this shoulder goes that way. When you swung from here, if that hip kind of goes around this way, your top half kind of goes that way, yeah?
Yeah.
So you go a bit more that way, not slidey. Just gets you in a better position in terms of your back, so you're making more of a turn then. I mean, that there's good. It goes a little bit far because I think you've got much more range of motion now because your hip's turning better and your back's straighter. Whereas in the past, you're a bit hunched and your hip's going this way. The only way to get the golf club back anywhere, and it was almost just to go as far as you can. We can kind of control that in time with a little bit more sort of a control and back. So you see almost the hands were collapsing a little bit there. But if I take away the golf club, that's a good position with the body. Now as we come back, it's the sensation of staying behind that golf ball there. There's a little bit of a bump to that target there, but at least at impact, as we can see, you're behind that golf ball to some extent, giving yourself a chance to get the ball up in the air, and again, what we call releasing and sort of throwing your arms to target. The second you get ahead of that ball, even by a small amount, your arms just get stuck. I always use the example of throwing a ball or kicking a ball. Whatever, if you're kicking a ball, the ball will be there. If you're throwing a ball, you're releasing it here. If you're at a tennis ball up here with a tennis racket, it's going to be somewhere in those sort of four spots there. You'd never try and kick a ball with it kind of back here with your head in front of it, okay? Or a tennis ball back here or whatever it may be, yeah? So getting yourself behind the ball with a better kind of hip turn those hips better on the backswing, more of a turn this way. Now we can get that club working on a much shallower angle. For a tall person like you and I and stuff, we've got to almost shallow out our swing a lot more because we're naturally steep. And if you're coming down steep into muddy fairways, Ridgeway or anywhere this time of night, 9 feet better.
Yeah.
Okay, make sense?
Yeah.
Good, have a few more with that driver then. What we'll do is a few shots with the driver and then kind of chop and change between the two. So go driver 7 or driver 8, driver 7, whatever you want to do, and get you used to hitting different clubs one after the other, because after a lot of people go on the range at the same club over and over again. They get good with that club and then not so good with variety of clubs. So, okay, mate?